Hi there. Jodie Jingle is here with Supreme Peace Yoga and Wellness, and I'm here today to offer you another one of our Petite Peace practices. This week we are studying Kriya Yoga, which means yoga in action. It is the part of yoga that helps us take what we have learned off of the mat and into the rest of the world. And so, even though this particular practice is done on a meditation cushion and a chair or on your mat, we'll be considering how it can help us out in our everyday world. So there are three parts to Kriya Yoga. One of them is Svadhyaya, or study of the self and study of the sacred. And there are a couple of ways that we can do that. We can do that out in nature. You may have felt very connected to the divine, to something bigger than you when you've been out in nature before. Studying scripture, any kind of scripture or sacred text that you like to study, is another way of practicing Svadhyaya. And today we're going to focus on nature. So, what I'd like for you to do, and if you need to, feel free to pause this. We're going to do a little meditation focused on nature. So, I invite you to you can either take me outside into your back or front yard, or you can find some natural object. This was a beautiful moth that was gifted to me, found and gifted to me by a student. And so I'll be meditating on this today. You could pick a flower or plant that you have in your home. You could pick a rock or a crystal that you have in your home. It could be your cat or dog if they're willing to be still enough to do this practice. Or again, you could watch this video and then go out into nature or take this out into nature and do it there, which is probably the absolute best place to do it. So we're going to be practicing Svadhyaya, or this sacred study, through a practice of samadhi. So lots of Sanskrit words here. But samadhi is basically a form of meditation where we have an object of some sort, a being of some sort, and we focus or we concentrate on it. We give our attention to it. So that's the mindfulness piece. And then we let our mind run through all of the things that we know about this thing, right? Because your mind is going to chatter. So, as I'm gazing softly at this moth, my mind might be telling me about its color. My mind might be wondering about where this person found this moth, or about the person themselves and how sweet it was that they gave it to me. So I'm just going to let my mind kind of empty out. You can think of that like emptying out the pitcher. We're going to let our mind go through all the things we know about it. And at some point, if we do this long enough and we, keep bringing our mind back to this object, and we go through all the things that we know about it, at some point our mind will begin to quiet down a little bit. And there's almost this kind of click that happens. The mind is relatively clear, and our gaze may be soft. Sometimes you may end up kind of seeing like a double vision, or it may appear 3D or kind of shadowy to you in some respect. But there's almost this feeling of connection to this thing. Like you are one with this object of your meditation. And that's when we get to the place of like samadhi or bliss. So I tell you that, and I know sometimes then our mind can go, when am I going to get there? I want to get there. When am I going to get there? And it's important for you to let go of the attachment and just do the practice. I will walk you through it. Do the practice. If it happens today, great. If it doesn't, great. It will if you practice it enough. But even if you never get today to that place where you feel connected to your object, you will have done a great service to yourself in practicing mindfulness and concentration. All right. So let's get everything that we need. Find your natural object or find your natural space and find a nice comfortable seat. I am actually, if I can, sit my, I can. I am sitting my moth up on the stand that the iPad is on because it's going to let me sit up nice and tall rather than hunching over and looking at it. So I'm going to be able to sit up nice and tall and let my eyes go soft. So if you can set your object up on something so you can sit up tall, great. If not, if you hold it in your hands and look down, you're not going to cause your neck or your head any damage. That's totally fine as well. So find your comfortable seat. Find your space for your object. And let your eyes rest very softly on this object. So your eyes may even look a little bit sleepy, kind of slightly closed, but your gaze is really soft. This isn't a hard stare. We're going to let our breath flow in and out, perhaps deepening it a little bit. And the first stage of this samadhi practice is Dharana, which means focus. So with your eyes gazing softly on this object, it's going to be your anchor, your focal point. Every time your mind shifts away from this object, you're going to bring it back. Letting your gaze be soft and your breath be deep. And at some point, it might become relatively easy to focus on the object. But your mind might start to chatter about all of the things that it knows about this particular object. Let it be your teacher. This stage of the practice is called Dhyana. That's our concentration. So we're able to hold our focus on the object. But perhaps there's a lot of mind chatter about its shape or color or size, about its texture. About when you first came into contact with it. Just allow yourself to empty out the picture, running through all of the things that you know about this object, this friend of yours. And then maybe, at some point, you feel this click, this connection, almost as if you've fallen in love with this object. You feel its connection to you. Sometimes it feels like a little internal click. Sometimes the gaze just goes funny. You might see a couple of them. It may feel like it's moving. The second we realize this is happening, we've already pulled ourselves out of it. Just go with this process. And if you're really enjoying this, know that you can continue with this meditation. There's no need to stop right now. But if you're ready to finish, you can bring your hands over your eyes for just a moment, perhaps close them, and slowly pull the hands away from the eyes and let the eyes flutter open. You might say thank you to this object. So again, I threw a lot of Sanskrit words at you, but this is the practice of Samyama, and it is one of the ways that we can practice that Svadhyaya, that sacred study or that self-study. But this Samyama practice of letting our eyes rest on typically a natural object is very good to help us. And we start in kind of a mindfulness place where we use this as the anchor and we keep coming back to it. That's phase one. It's called Dharana, where we keep bringing our mind back to our object. When our mind is ready, it moves into Dhyana, which is the concentration phase. And that's where oftentimes our mind begins to run through everything that we know about this object. And then sometimes, and oftentimes this can take 15 or 20 minutes. We didn't practice that long today. The more you practice, the less time it takes. We get to a place of samadhi, and that's where there's a little click. And I can't explain it for you. For me, a lot of times the object goes a little bit blurry, kind of like those hidden picture posters in the 90s, and then you can like see what's actually like behind the pattern. It's a little bit like that. It also, there's almost an affection or a love for the object. Like I feel connected to the object. And this practice, we're practicing Kriya Yoga this week. It's all about bringing our yoga off of the mat and into the world. This practice is a very profound practice that you can do that can be very helpful in your daily life. Once you get really good at it, you can even do it with pictures of maybe people who have gotten under your skin or things that, maybe you just don't like about the world. Like, let's say that, there's a certain bug that you don't like or a certain animal that you don't like or any of those kinds of things. You can meditate on it, maybe not alive. Maybe you're not going to bring a live snake into your meditation, but perhaps a picture. You can begin to meditate on it and find that connection and that wholeness in it. It's also incredibly powerful to use with people whose belief systems are different than yours. Now, we have to work up to that, right? So let's start with the things that we find lovely, like butterflies or rocks or a green plant. But over time, this practice can just really blossom and help us kind of expand our awareness in the world. So give that a try. Repeat it. It becomes easier with repetition. At first, you may only get through the first one or two stages, but with tapas, right, with that kind of repetitiveness, you'll get to the place where you're able to experience the final part of it, which is samadhi. And that place is a really lovely place to experience even for a millisecond. So, as always, feel free to drop any questions below that you might have for me about this practice. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Namaste.